Hello there, friends. In our first two time value videos, we started off by looking at interest rates and this big idea of compounding. We learned that money can grow over time through compounding. In our second video, we looked at the time value of money calculator, and we looked also at how to use that calculator to do some future value calculations, where we were given money today or given a series of payments starting today, and we figured out what it would be worth in the future. Let's conclude our discussion of the time value of money now by doing a little quick presentation on present value. Okay? Present value. We're going to start off with the present value of a lump sum. When we're talking about the present value of a lump sum, what we're asking is how much is a lump sum of money that you're going to get in the future or that you want to get in the future worth today? Okay. In other words, you're promised some money in the future or you want to have a particular amount in the future. How much is that money worth today given a particular interest rate and a certain number of time periods? So let's think about this and let's do a real simple question and we'll lay it out. Then we'll solve it with the scavenger hunt idea. Okay. Let's suppose that you just had a child. So you and your partner just had a child and you want to start saving for the kid's college education. So you decide that when the kid starts college in 18 years, you want to have $100,000 in the college fund. And you assume that you can earn 6% per year. So let's talk about this. You're saying, okay, 18 years from now, I want to have $100,000 in an account, and I know I can earn 6%. Here's the question. How much money do you have to set aside today to meet that goal? Okay. So sounds rough. We could probably visualize it. We could say this. We could say today is day zero and 18 years from now. What we're saying is we want $100,000 in 18 years. If we're going to grow for 18 years at 6%, what's that worth today? Or another way to think about it and to visualize it would be this. You could say, how much money do I have to set aside today to have $100,000 in 18 years if I can grow at 6%? Okay. Sounds kind of rough, but once we start getting our intuition and getting our awareness and getting fluent with these tools, we can get through this no problem. Let's start as we always do with our little cheat sheet to keep organized. Present value, future value, NI, and PMT. We know it's a scavenger hunt, so we're given four, or we can deduce and figure out four, and we're solving for one. Well, we assume that the baby was just born, so there's nothing in the account. So the present value, actually, no, I'll take that back. Forgive that. Let me start that again. We assume that we want $100,000 in 18 years, so the future value is 180,000. We want it in 18 years, so N is 18. Now we know that we can grow the money at 6% per year. And we know that we're looking for a lump sum to put in. We're not going to make payments, so it's not an annuity, so PMT is zero. So that's what we're looking at. What we're solving for is the PV, and that goes back up here. We were solving for the PV. I got ahead of myself a minute ago. So what we're asking the software to do, what we're asking the question is, how much money do we have to set aside now such that if it grows at 6% per year for 18 years, we'll get that $100,000? In other words, we know we don't have any money in the baby's account now. We're solving the question, how much do we need to put in there to grow this amount? Well, Sounds rough, but we've got a tool. We go to financial calculator and we do it. We're solving for PV. So let's click PV. Notice that PV goes gray because that's what we're solving for. The other four variables that we have go blue. We're going to plug them in. We know that we're looking at 18 years from now. N is 18. We assume we can get 6% interest per year. So I is 6%. This is not going to be an annuity. We're making a lump sum, not PMTs. So we're going to put 0. And critically, we know that we want this to be worth 100. You know what? I said 180,000 on my, I said 180,000. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I got a bit ahead of myself. That's not 180,000. That's 100,000. Sorry about that. Slow down. I still mess these things up. I get ahead of myself. Go slow. Take your time. Sorry about that. All right, we fixed it. Now we know our future value is going to be 100,000. And we're going to leave that 100,000 positive because we want that money coming into us. So what are these numbers telling us? We're telling the software, hey, software, listen, how much money do I have to set aside today so that I can have $100,000 in 18 years if my money can grow at 6%? Another way of phrasing that is, hey, software, I want $100,000 in 18 years and I can earn 6%. What's the present value of that today? We hit calculate, and there's our answer. $35,034.38. Notice that this is a negative sign because we're putting the money into the account. We have to push the money out into the account to make it happen. So here's what we get. There's our answer. What does this mean? It means this. If you put $35,000, actually $35,034.38 into an account today, and it grows at 6%, you'll have $100,000 in 18 years. So that's that kind of problem. Here's another one. Let's talk about the present value of an annuity. So this was a lump sum question. Let's talk about an annuity question. This is a hard one, so let's get ready. Let's say that you want to retire today. So you want to retire today. Doesn't matter how old you are. You want to retire today. And you want to receive an income of $100,000 for 30 years. The money in your retirement nest egg will grow at 5% per year. So how much money do you need to have in your nest egg today to make your retirement work? Okay, this is an interesting question. So let's think about this. Let's get ourselves mapped out. So you want to retire today. So you need a nest egg. You want that nest egg to generate $100,000 per year for 30 years. Notice that because the money's being generated per year, we are now out of lump sum and into an annuity. This is an annuity because it's going to be an equal series of equal cash payments over time, specifically $100,000 a year for 30 years. We also know that the money in your nest egg can grow at 5% per year. So the question then is, what size nest egg do you need today? What size nest egg do you need today such that you can generate that? In other words, what we're saying is this. We want to have an amount of money right here so that we can generate $100,000 per year for 30 years while the money is growing at 5%. Okay, let's break this down. PV, FV, NI, and PMT. It's a scavenger hunt. So we know that we want a payment of $100,000 per year, and we want that coming in. So PMT is going to be $100,000. We know that the nest egg is going to sit there. And yes, we're going to draw 100,000 out of it every year, but the balance will grow. So if you think about this question, when you have a nest egg at any time, you take a little bit out and the balance goes down, but then there's some interest, so it goes back up a little bit. Then next year you draw the money out, but then the money that's left over gets some interest. So even though we're drawing down money over time, it's technically going to go down, then a little bit up because of the interest. Then we pull the money out, then a little bit up. Okay. The interest rate that we're going to earn is 5%. We want to have this money come to us for 30 years. Maybe when you do this calculation, you determine that you have approximately 30 years to live. So you're going to map out getting this money until you die. The future value is going to be zero. This is very important. If we're assuming that we want the money to last for 30 years, that's the same as saying that we want to extinguish the account after 30 years. Okay, we don't have to do that. We could set up a system where we earn 100,000 a year for 30 years and then we leave 50,000 in the account so that maybe there's some money left over for our beneficiaries. But unless we say otherwise, once you burn out the account, the future value is zero. So we've got our four variables, and now it's scavenger hunt time. You know what to do next. Let's go to our calculator. Let's plug in some numbers, and let's make it work. Here, we're going to be solving for present value. So we click present value. We're going to clear this. We'll click present value. We want to pull money for 30 years. While we're pulling that money out, the remainder of our account can grow at 5%. We want to pull out 100,000 per year. And we don't want to leave any money in there when we're done. We're going to just burn the account out. So look what we're telling the software here. We're saying, hey, software, how much money do we need today at the present moment? How much money do we need today at the present moment in order to generate $100,000 a year for 30 years when our nest egg can grow at 5%? Hit calculate, and there's the number. $1,537,245. That's our solution. What does that mean? Well, here's what it means. If you were to retire today with $1,537,000, or not even if you're going to retire, if you happen to have an account today with a nest egg of $1,537,245, you can and will be able to pull $100,000 a year every year for 30 years, assuming that after you pull some money out, the remaining balance grows by 5%. This is a really, really powerful problem because what we learned in this problem, besides some basic time value skills, is this. A lot of people focus on future value, which is good because future value is all about growing my money, which is a good thing. But when it comes to you achieving your future financial goals, a problem like we just did is probably more powerful. It's easy to say, well, I've got some money now and I want to grow it. And that's good. But when it comes to financial planning, a lot of financial planning is this. Hey, I have an estimate of how much money I want to have in the future. Working backwards, how much do I have to set aside today to make it work? A lot of your future financial planning is going to be to make this goal work, to have money saved for a house down payment, to have money saved for a kid's college, to have a nest egg saved for my retirement. You're going to know how much you need in the future. The real skill, the real power is being able to pull that back and plan out today how much you need to set aside today. In other words, I guess one way you can say it is when you know time value skills, there's no such thing as an insurmountable financial problem. Even the most complex of goals can be stripped down to an amount that you'll need in the future and then pulled back to a concrete action you can take today to make the goal work. And it's all from this tool. Okay. And that's pretty much it for this lecture. Let's wrap this up with a couple of big ideas. I want to revisit. Now that we've done all of time value, I want to revisit one of the key questions that we talked about earlier. Are you going to be a capitalist? Or are you going to be a consumer? We said in our previous video, interest is always going to grow. You're either going to pay it or you're going to receive it. Are you going to be a capitalist and let the power of time work for you? Or are you going to be a spender and a consumer and live beyond your means and pay that interest out? Besides that, I think that this lecture has left us with a couple of very important implications, takeaways, and tips. Number one, time is your friend. So when it comes to investing, start early. I showed you before that the future value was equal to the present value times 1 plus I to the n. When we say start early, we're saying control your n. Start early. Control your n. This is by definition exponential growth because the n is an exponent. When you have exponential growth, the sooner you start, the wealthier you get. So start early. In order to invest, you're going to need to save money. You need cash to invest. And this implies that in order to invest and in order to make time work for you, you need, starting now, to live below your means. This means that you're going to always want to earn much more than you spend. You're going to want to have more money coming in than going out. Going back to our systems model, we want to reduce the expenditures to get a bigger arrow for our savings and investing to start that feedback loop as soon as we can. Ultimately, you're going to have to decide to take action. I hope that you learn some lessons in these videos and we learn that time's our friend, but until you actually make it happen, it's just a thought. And we've learned in earlier videos that personal finance is combining thinking with action. You have to beware debt. The very same forces that help you when it's your money crush you when you're in debt. You don't want to pay interest, you want to collect it. So be extremely responsible of debt. Be extremely responsible with debt. Do not be careless with debt. Okay, your future you is relying on current you to make good decisions. And then lastly, this stuff is sort of hard when you first start. So let's return to one of our big themes. I want you to keep practicing, and I want you to do some practice questions. I've written some practice questions that I'll post for you. I want you to do those. Go through them slowly so you can build intuition, build awareness. And then I guess we can also say, let's always remember systems. Okay, let's remember the systems, especially the feedback loops. Our big goal in this class was to create a wealth generating system. By doing TVM, we've now seen a big part of how those feedback loops feed back into each other and how compound interest can make even small amounts of money grow huge, making you and future you prosperous. Okay. And that's what I want for you: prosperity, happiness, and health. Okay. Have a great day. Thanks for your time.